Hello everyone. Today we are going to cover integrated caching and content delivery within this within solution, and this is part of AZ-204, which we are covering the certification. Today's last day, and I will be covering Model 3 and Model 14 as part of this. And myself, Shadab Hasan, I am Microsoft certified trainer, and I have 14 years of experience with Microsoft technology. And below are some links which you can go through, and you want to contact me for any further information and any further help, you can reach out to me. So first thing, this is like CDN, we have a Redis and CDN. These are the two things which we have as part of the content delivery. And what is Redis? Actually, if you talk about the Redis, we have generally what we do a caching for your application. Okay, so let's suppose that you have generally if you have a VM, multiple VM created in your application, and your VM is running, and generally these are the part of even infrastructure which you have created, any application is running, and these are, let's suppose that the front end servers you have created. Okay. So generally what happens when you start using, and when your request goes to VM1 or VM2, generally your sticky session will be created, like your all the requests will be processed from the same VM, and you will be processed from that VM itself. So whenever your request goes, a person request on the VM, let's suppose that this is the person, and he requests a session, okay, and to the VM1. So what happened? There is a sticky session is created, and you are stick with the VM1. But for this solution, what Azure is offering, and this is the Redis cache, like distributed caching system, which is coming here, and like you can store your distributed data, like any caching data, in the Redis. Okay, you'll be getting distributed cache here. So this is the caching database where your data is getting stored. So whenever you request with VM, your caching thing is not in the VM. The caching is stored in the Redis cache, so that you will not be having a sticky connection with any of the VM, and you will be able to take the data from your distributed application, so distributed caching system. So that's what the Redis cache is. This is providing a feature where you have the NoSQL optimization, and data will be stored in the nodes and cluster method. So nodes are the space in the Redis where the data is stored, and then cluster are set of 3 or more nodes your data sets are getting splitted across. So this is how the Redis cache get stored, and this is like typically works like a key value pair where you will be storing. So same thing we used Redis during our infrastructure services, where we have used a Redis image, and we have deployed in our local Docker hub, and we have used those. So we can just send our data to Redis, and that will be stored. So it will be stored as a key value pair, you can see here, and this is like a NoSQL database and key value pair and distributed data across the nodes and cluster. So nodes, same thing, it's the stored data, Redis where the data is stored, and cluster is a set of 3 or more nodes across the data set. So as you can see here, this is how it's getting generated. There will be a key, like greeting is a key, and the value is welcome new user. Okay, So this, like this, you can store data in the Redis. Like this is the key, and these are the value which provides. So here are the list of the common data type. Like there will be a binary, safe string, and you have list of a string. You have unordered string and hashed string. There are multiple things which you can do. Map. You can do the mapping as well. So there are multiple ways which you can do here, and each data value is associated with the key. Okay, and that you can look up value from the caches. So this is how you can do storing large value. It is possible up to 500 MB. You can store it in the Redis value. So this is how the looks like. So this is the example it's showing here. So example schema, which is it's given here. So Redis key is also a binary safe string. Here is some guidelines for choosing keys. So avoid long keys. So you should avoid the long key name. Okay. So it's not recommended that you should do a long key, because the maximum size length will be 512 MB. Okay, so your key size should not increase more than 512 MB. Okay, and basically your key will be identified to pick your data. So for example, you can see you can put like a sports, football, and date, something like bigger value. So there'll be a binary key stored on that. Okay, so you should avoid, instead of, you can use a small key. Like you should not use, like this is like saying that the key will be application. So instead of that, you can shorten those key value, like app, last update, a string, str you can use. So you should avoid these, and you should create something like a smaller value, and that you should use it. Okay, this is like a Redis operation. It's saying that you have what are the commands you can use. You have the ping command to ping the server. So we had the same thing in when we deployed in the Docker, and we saw like if you are saying the ping, we're getting a pong, and some commands are there. So there are some commands. It's not here. Okay, so if you talk about Redis commands, there are commands which is there. Okay, so there is ping command. We have we can do a set key and values. So these are the commands which is used inside the Redis. You can like get key. These are the command again, and exist, you can check the keys exist. So these are the commands which generally available with the Redis, and that you can go ahead and use as part of Redis in your application. Okay, so these are the methods which is saying get a school, set a school value, and the value key, and then value. Again, this is like get, set, and you are changing the value associated and a specified key. So already the key has been assigned. You are getting the value and setting it to the another value. And again, you are checking its exist or not. So these are the commands which is available with the Redis operation. Okay, so Azure Cache for Redis, you can go ahead and create your Azure Redis cache. So I'll just go to the portal, and here you can search Azure Cache for Redis. Okay. So these are the you can go ahead and create like I'll just see. I'm using my subscription. I'll create a resource group. D9. And this is the DNS name which we are putting. So this will be common across your Redis cache. So I'll just put my Redis. Okay, and I'll put today's date 2911, and I'm deploying it to East US. See, you can see here there are so many pricing tier available here. So from enterprise, flash, and then you have the premium, standard, basic. So these are the multiple things are available. So according to the size, you can choose the what you think you need. Basically, it also gives the replication as well. So if you want to replicate your caching across the globe or to another region, so you have to choose the standard. So if you go basic, so you don't have replication available. uh, we can see here, if we click on this view pricing, you have the multiple pricing tier available here. So you can go here and see what feature you need, and based on what feature you want to. So basically you should use for your application, basically you should go for the application one. So that will be better for your across the region. You can go ahead and replicate your data, and that will be easy for the application which is there from the other region, and they can go ahead and use that. And also you have the size like 53 GB, 26 GB. So other things, if you go for the premium, again, you have the other features available. So I'll just take a standard one, a standard C1 1 GB with replication, and I'll click on next. Again, this is the networking available. So public endpoint which we are taking, again, you have the Redis version available. So these are the previews. Generally, we should not allow to use a preview version in the production thing, but you can go ahead and explore those for your development and testing purpose. We should use the 4 as part of production deployment. So preview is for only for development and testing purpose. You can do once they release completely to your latest version, then you can go ahead and use. And just I am creating this. So this is how you can create your Redis, and then you should use in your application. Okay, so how that your application talks from multiple region, your web tile is available, and you are caching your data to the Redis cache, and instead of directly querying your data, so you'll be querying from the cache, and your data will be available for you, and that will be faster actually whenever you go for that. Okay, so we are talking about this basic, standard, and premium. So if you go for the basic cache, it's ideal for development, testing, and the limit is the single server which you have seen just now, and you can store up to 53 GB. You will get 53 GB memory and to 20,000 connection. Okay, and you don't have SLA attached to that because basic doesn't have the SLA. If you go for the standard, so you can use for the production caching. Okay, we support 99.99% SLA. Okay, and it support like 2 server where you have the primary and secondary server, and you can choose based on your memory. And if you go for the premium tier, again, that is used for the enterprise tier, that is called enterprise tier, and you have 530 GB of memory and 40,000 of simulate like concurrent connection, which you can use on the premium tier actually. So these are the features which you get on the based on your premium tier. And where we are talking about this thing, this is like you can see here your data is stored, because a data can be larger and you are not loading an entire data into cache. It's not recommended approach. So it's common like you put a caching aside, and it's a separate, and you will be like replicating some of the data towards the caching, and you will be getting your data from the cache and displaying it to the client. So to access the Redis cache in your client, you can go ahead and connect your client and using the host name, port, and access key. So all this information is available in Azure portal. So once this caching is still getting deployed. So once you have the caching deployed, so you can go ahead and use the host name, port, and access key, and you can connect your application and can start writing in the Redis. And based on that, you can achieve your like faster connectivity with your application and caching implemented on your web app or any of the application which you are using. So this is all about the caching, Redis cache which we have. Okay. And if you don't have any question, we can move to the another, which is like CDN. Just wanted to know if you have any question by the time it's getting deployed.
Shadab, Karthik here.
Yeah.
So do we need to have a separate server for Redis in the architecture that you have just drawn in Paint, or can it go with existing
See, let's suppose that your web application is deployed in multiple VM, and what you can do, you can go ahead and write application such a way that your cache is not going to store on server. It has to get stored in your distributed caching system, okay, which
Okay.
is Redis cache. Okay, so whenever the user comes, like let's suppose that I have created a connection with this, like I have entered all my login and password, and I have entered to VM1. I should be able to switch to any of the server based on the load. So it should not be like that. A user has came across on the VM1 and from the load balancer, and it's get stick with the VM1. Okay, so based on application load, so I should be able to switch to any of the application. And if you talk about the there is something called a sticky connection which happens, and
Mm.
generally the sticky session you call it. Okay, so that should not happen. So you should not be able to stick. If my 100 user are coming in VM1 and start using it, and the VM2 there is no load, so my load balancer is such a way that it should be able to distribute the connection across the VM, and that only possible if you use the distributed cache. Okay, so
Okay.
you should
Okay.
not be going to store like your sticky session here in the somewhere in the server. Okay, so that's not recommended. Okay, so this is
Okay.
the session is getting stored. Okay, so when you use this distributed caching in your application and you write your application to store your data in the cache, so that will be better and the performance wise as well.
Yeah,
So that's how it
agreed.
is.
So first time, suppose I am connected to VM1. So if Redis cache is made local to that VM, my next connection based on load balancer might go to VM2 or VM3, where my previous data that is been cached is not available. So we
Correct,
have to keep it external that can be accessed by all the VMs.
correct, correct.
So my data will be current at any point of time.
Of course, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is how it's still getting created. It's not yet done. So here is some access key. As you know, there'll be access key given. So again, you can go ahead and use this connection string from your application, and you write your data in the caching server. So your data will be persisted here in the caching. So actually, in the cloud, generally what we have in our on-premises infrastructure, generally we go ahead and write some caching and store the caching in the servers. Generally, what we do in the on-premises infrastructure. Okay, but in the cloud, if you're going and you're creating a web app, okay, you don't have any VM or anything attached to. This is the I showed you VM, but if you go and create a web app, how you are going to maintain your caching? Okay, so that will be one of the challenge which you get in the cloud. Okay, so you don't have any dedicated infrastructure for that. So this is the Redis cache which gives you, so you can go ahead and store your caching information in the another, you can say the offering which given by the Microsoft. So this is how it is. Okay, still it's getting created, but it's fine. So you understood that how it works actually, yeah. So there is SSL TSL connection. Again, you have the cluster size. Again, it's still getting created. So basically, this is for the premium tier. You have the scale up, a scale out. So those information already available, which you can go ahead and anytime you can change your tier. So these are the information which is available with the Radish. Okay. So moving to the another thing, which is called a CDN, Content Delivery Network. So what CDN offers you, let's suppose that I have a website where we have like so many images and video stored on that application, and when my application let's deploy it somewhere in the US, and any person is going to access from the India, and basically it takes times to load the image and video to the application. Okay, so generally nowadays so many things are coming. Generally you have application like Amazon, Amazon Prime and Netflix, all those things, what they're using a CDN. So generally their application content will be like cached in the CDN server, okay, and where the point of presence, you have to create a point of presence for that. And let's suppose that from the India, when I'm going to access, first time it will take time to bring the data to the India caching server. And once that is available to my caching server, whenever I go and next time I use, that will be faster to download on my client side. So this is how it does. Okay, so a content delivery network is a distributed network of servers that can efficiently deliver your web content to user. Okay, so it can deliver image, video, style sheet, and client-side script and HTML, anything but which text generally deliver time to deliver to the client side. Okay, so those things you can deliver. Even let's suppose that you have changed something on the application. Let's suppose that you have changed the JavaScript or any image you have changed recently. Okay, so let's suppose that today you have putting offer something on your website, and just now you have updated that image, and whenever you go and query that, so you get from the cache, actually you'll get still the old image. So just you have to go on the portal and you have to say that remove those content from the CDN servers, and again when their user is going to browse that website, the new data will come to them. Okay, so that we'll see in the portal. We have the configuration for that. Okay, that you can do it. So you can see here how that improves actually. Okay, so this is saying the traditional thing, which like you don't have the, without CDN, you don't have the CDN stored here, and if any user is going to try to access data, so directly those data comes from the servers. Okay, and if you talk about the CDN uses, like these are the use cases which is saying that delivering static content, static resources, and those things which generally just I talk about. So you have the HTML pages and client-side script, style sheet, images. So those you can go ahead and deliver to the users actually. So streaming videos, so nowadays people are coming with the in the TV and all those things. Like you have the apps and you can say smart TV, which gives you the multiple things, like you can see Netflix and other things. So generally what they're using a CDN connection. Okay, so basically there'll be a CDN connection and CDN servers dedicated to that, and your data is getting streamed over there. And when they try to access, you get the data faster. So you can see here there is certain use cases mentioned here, like client trying to access directly data from the origin server. It's taking 120 milliseconds for them. Okay, but when they are going through the like CDN server, they're just 40 milliseconds. They're able to get the data. So these are the features which you can achieve from the CDN server. Okay, I'll just go to the portal and I'll see. Why is it taking time longer? Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, this is the one. So there is CDN profile, and you can put any name like my CDN one, and I'm saying the resource group. Okay, so this is my resource group location by default. Coming here is the pricing tier you have. So you have the standard Microsoft, a standard Verizon, and premium Verizon. These are the pricing available. So you can just click here and you can see what like this is the Microsoft one, and this is for the very zone. Almost the pricing is same, only the premium is different. And what feature is giving, like this is the web application as well, it's included. Okay, web application firewall, which gives rules engine you have, and geo filtering everywhere it's available. So these are the comparison which is available, and I'm just selecting this. Okay, and create. So what you can do, basically you'll be going to add your application CDN. Okay, CDN endpoint. So here it's giving not even the web application. You can go ahead and you can define for your storage, for the other cloud services, a storage, a static website. So those things which you can go ahead and create. So let's creating for the web app. So again, it's mainly asking for my web app. Then there's no web app available. Okay, let's click storage. I have this storage account created. So I'm creating a CDN for my this storage account. Okay, so whatever is stored inside this storage account, that will be actually cached. So now, so this storage account is stored in East US. I have created this storage account in East US. But if anyone is going to access from the India region, so that will be cached first time in India region, and then that user will be able to access faster from the India region as well. So that's what we can do. Okay, so I'm caching my storage account, actually a storage account to the CDN. This is how we can show. Okay, in subscription, I have to enable it actually. Resource providers. This is not enabled, so I just need to register it, then only I will be able to create. So here is again some restriction. You can see here we can put it on the subscription, like in this subscription what is allowed to create, what is not allowed to create. Again, you have this thing came across here, so I'm just telling it. So in the subscription level, you have the resource provider. So whatever is enabled, you can go ahead and use that only. So because see, this is not allowing me in order to create a CDN profile. You please ensure that CDN is listed in your registered resource provider in Azure subscription. So I need to enable here in order to create this subscription in this service in my subscription. Okay, this is how it is does. Now it's registered, so now I can go ahead and create it. Okay, so by the time it's getting created, okay, let's move to our slide. So this is how it is working actually. Okay, so just now we have seen that we have created our CDN for our storage account. So our storage account will be cached in CDN, and that can be used. Okay, so this again, it talks about the Azure CDN and how those can be created, like caching your blob storage, web application, virtual machine, or any publicly accessed web service. Even your application is in on-premises, but if it's accessible outside the network, it is publicly accessed, you can go ahead and create caching for that as well. Okay, so any application which you are storing in one premises, but the endpoint is publicly accessible, you can go ahead and create CDN profile. Okay. So again, it talks about same thing like Verizon, Akamai, and Microsoft. These are the provider for the CDN platform where you can create any location, performance, network, and strength. So these are the features which you get, and you do the caching on the CDN. Again, this is the CDN user, which talks about any other user is going to access the edge server. This is your point of presence, like this is your CDN server, okay? And then it's going to origin server and it's getting it done. So your data is stored here, okay? So when the fifth user gets, they get the data from here itself. So your data doesn't go to this origin server, because if another user is trying to access, because our data is already stored, cached in your POP server. Okay, so they are getting directly from here. That request is not going to the origin server. This is how it is talking about. Okay. Yeah.
Shadab,
Yeah.
one
Please go ahead.
question. So, I mean, would there be any case of bad read? Like, suppose user one has read some data, and
Mhm.
within that time, the data got changed on the origin server. So,
Okay.
will it be? I mean, so suppose if I mean, user five comes and accesses it. So,
Mhm.
user five will get the new copy of data, right? I mean, or
Yeah.
he will
So
be reading the same cached data.
correct, correct. So what happens when the user is going to request, and let's suppose that I have requested today at 7 o'clock, and the data has been picked up from the server and it has been cached here. So like 8 o'clock, I'm going to access, so I'll get same data. But what happens when the data is getting changed? So when you are doing any changes in on your server, you must go and reset your settings on your server, like CDN server. Okay,
Okay.
so there is something setting which I want to show once it's getting created. Okay, so here is the CDN connection. You can see this purge. Okay,
Right.
what happened when anything you are changing on server, you just go ahead and click on purge. What will happen when you click on purge, which endpoint you want to purge, and you can give your www.conteso.com/images. Okay, let's say you have changed images folder something. So you hash this path, you purge this path. What the purge will do, purge will remove content from your POP server. So the caching server, it will go ahead and delete the data. Okay, so I have changed these images from something I have put it. I already told you, like Amazon today night 12 o'clock. I am putting some thing which is like offer. I'm going to publish. I have to change the images. Okay, so when this user has got they are getting an old image. So when I change this image, I'll go ahead and purge this data. So when I'll purge, this cache server will be refreshed for this particular path. Okay, so when this user go and try to access those images folder, again it will go to the server and try to get the latest data for me. Okay, and again it will cache those data in this server. So your latest images are available. So whenever the new user are coming, they'll be able to get the new images here. So you
Okay.
must purge your data before, if any changes are happening, you must purge your data, and then your data will be refreshed. So this is how your like you can say that caching works actually.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So this is how I want to show you, because these things are there. And again, not only your application like CDN, you can use your CLI commands to create a profile. So this is how it is saying. Again, you have the endpoint, create a CDN endpoint, associate your domain. So you can associate your domain to your CDN. This is how we have done in the portal. We have associated my storage account with CDN. Okay, you can go ahead and associate your website endpoint, as we have seen that not only a storage, you have the multiple option to do here. Like you can do a blog, web application, virtual machine, and publicly accessed web app. You can go ahead and do a you can create a caching rules here. Okay. So there is something called here caching explanation on Azure CDN. So there is a global caching and custom caching which you have to do. Global caching, which is saying that you can set one global caching rule. So if you put a global caching rule, which will be implemented for all the internal application and you create. Custom, you can go ahead and again create based on your order or based on your custom thing, like a specific path, like we have just seen, like I want to uh, do on particular path, and those things which you want to do, you can go ahead and create a custom caching as well. So based on a specific path extension you want to change, and based on extension and other things which you want to set, those you can go ahead and do. So these are the two type of caching rule available here. And again, this is the again purging and preload asset. As I told you, you must go and purge. Like see here, it's saying that this JavaScript file has got changed. So I should go ahead and purge this file. Okay. And also there is a preload asset also is available. Like once you purge this, again you have the another feature, like you can preload. Instead, user go and access and go ahead and server browse from the server, you can preload those assets into the CDN server. That is also available. So as you asked, that image has got changed, on what I should do. So first you should purge and then you should do a preload. Okay, so this data is already available in your caching server. As per the admin has done this automatically for you. So when the other user goes, he can go ahead and browse from here and he will get the latest data from here. So this is how the CDN and caching works in Azure. Any question you have? There is again labs associated with this. This is the 45 minutes lab. Okay. So this is again how to configure your content delivery network. So these are the steps. I'll recommend that you should go through all these labs, which is part of this AZ-204, which will help you in your examination and learning as well. So that's it's very helpful step by step steps, and you can go ahead and do it. Yeah. Any question on this part, CDN and the Radish?
Redis. Yeah, normally when we are using the Redis cache, I have a scenario like we are having a balanced server. In this scenario, how can we manage the Redis cache? That is not possible.
Come again. What server you have?
Yeah, we are having a balanced server. Like we are having a 3 servers, that will be load balancer we are using in that one. In that scenario, how can we use the Redis caching?
Yeah, so as I told you, instead of storing the caching on, you can go ahead and store the cache on your server itself. You have the VM, you can go ahead and store your caching on local server. But that is not recommended. If you have a front-end server application deployed on your application here, okay, on the servers, you can write a code here in your application to store your caching on your distributed cache, instead of storing it locally.
I don't get you. Normally, we are having instances where app servers, we are using instances. In that scenario, we have a five instances. In that scenario, how can we use this Redis cache or CDN or anything? So every time that will be in a different request. When request comes from the particular user, anything. Next time also same, that will be not possible to same server, it will serve the same server as an app. Can you give me any idea?
Correct. So you are saying that when this user is coming, the request can go to the VM1 and VM2, correct? So your application is load balanced on your multiple VMs. Okay. So you have this front-end application is stored here, correct? Your application, your web app, or anything which you are storing here, application here, and same application is stored here. Okay, so your application, you need to write application such a way that you should store your generally what you do, storing a cache in your .NET code. How you store the caching in the .NET code?
Yeah, by using fragment cache or output caching we are using in our project.
Where that will be stored, the caching will be stored in your local server, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
In sometimes we are using in this scenario, we are using in same scenario, we are using the application request routing we are using in one project. ARR.
Correct. So that caching is stored in your VM. So you need to write your application, you need to change your application to use the distributed caching. You create a Redis cache and
Okay.
use the connection string of Redis cache in your application. You write your data, your caching information like key value pair in your Redis core cache. So that your caching thing from this application, it goes and is stored in your distributed cache database. Okay, so whenever I go and do a query or anything, user ID, password, or anything, my identity I want to check, so this VM will go and check the distributed cache. Okay, and he gets, so if any you switch between any of the VM, your application is still pointing to the Redis cache, distributed cache, and you will be able to get the data instead of storing local.
Yeah, as I understand, we can use the single cache like a 3Ms. We are using the same cache, as you know. I think.
Correct. Yeah, same way. You should use a connection string and you start pointing your application to distributed cache and store your key value pair. Whenever you want to check cache, you check in the distributed cache. So that's what you can do it.
For 3Ms, we are using single cache only.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not recommended to store locally. Yeah. So now in the cloud, if you go for on premises, it's fine, but you have the caching in your local, and if you have one server, that is fine. But if you have the multiple server in your on premises, what happens? Your data is stick to the one VM because that connection has been made for me to that particular virtual machine. Okay. So my data will stick there. So that is called a sticky station has been created for you.
Yeah.
And
in application routing, you are using sticky session.
Yeah. So I need to serve my all request from this VM only. I can't switch for any purpose to the another VM. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. So that is the problem which we have with the existing caching mechanism, and now the cloud gives you those feature which you can go ahead and use distributed cache. Actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. Anything else before we move to another topic? Actually. Yeah. Thank you. I'll move to the different topic actually.